All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to go over the answers from passage 1, numbers 1 through 10. The title here is Tulip Mania. So it's going to talk about flowers. Mania means like manic, crazy. So something crazy happened with flowers. All right. That's our theme. We want to look at that first, make sure we can understand the main idea. Even if we know nothing about flowers, we can still get a good idea that the story is going to be centralized around people going crazy over these tulips. We got to figure out why, what happened. All right, so economic bubbles occur when the expected demand for a certain commodity spikes, driving prices significantly above the commodity's intrinsic value. When prices come down, it's usually not pretty, and then it has at the time they fall. Okay. But it just said when prices come back down, all right? So come back down and then fall. And then our other options are when they touch back down again and falling as they do. So all of those are being redundant, would be the word. So our correct answer here, what we want to choose is C. Just say when prices come back down, it's usually not pretty. Because we've already established prices coming back down. We don't have to repeat and say at the time they fall or they touch back down or falling as they do. None of those are necessary, so we just move on. All right. We want the shortest one and then move on. So the stock market crash of the 1920s, the dot-com bubble of the 1990s, and the housing market crash of 2008 all caused major economic disruption for thousands of Americans. But is there a common thread to the crisis? The story of Holland's tulip mania, the first well-known asset bubble in history, suggests that these financial panics may arise from people's desires. So the key to this one is picking up on this comma right here, and then we have to think, what should we do with this history suggests part? So since there's a comma here, it's letting me know that some of this information is not essential. The subject says the story suggests. So that's my subject and this is my verb. So all of this information in between here, let me switch to a highlighter. So this and all of this, right? I don't know what's going on with that, but all of this and the word the is all non-essential. So that's what these two commas do. So we would pick no change on this one. We would pick no change because that comma matches this one to let us know that the first well-known asset bubble in history is non-essential. So the subject and verb are together. The story of Holland's tulip mania suggests. So that's why we put that comma here. All the other ones wouldn't make any sense. They would be disruptive. All right. They just go on to the next part, and here's an easy apostrophe question. So this is one of our special types of apostrophes known as a irregular plural. So this is the desire of the people. So we want the word people, which is plural, but it doesn't end in an S, to be to the left of the apostrophe. So option C is my best option here. It's the one that lets me know this is saying the desire of the people. All the other ones, this one, A, shows no ownership of whose desire it is, and then B and D both are saying the desire of the peoples, and peoples is not a real word, right? To go along with the crowd and their fear of missing out. Tulips were introduced to Holland in the 1500s, and their intense, brightly colored petals quickly made the flowers a favorite among the nobility. Tulips became an awesome thing to buy. So this one you have to figure out based on how the text is going, what's the best option here. And since people are desiring these and they want to do it, and right here's a key part as well, it helps people up and down the social ladder. So when you're talking about social ladder, you're talking about your status in society. So the best option here would be a status symbol is what you'd want to pick here. And that's, you can't get that right unless you're reading the entire passage and understanding what you're reading. All right. So With so much demand, tulip prices reached increasingly exorbitant levels. In 1623, it was rumored that tulip connoisseur was offered 10,000 guilders, the value of a home in Amsterdam at the time. See these right here, these dashes? This is just like earlier with the commas. They're just letting us know that all of this information from here to here is non-essential. I don't need to say the value of a home in Amsterdam at the time. So you might have those underlined one time, and it's the same thing that happened earlier, right? For 10 bulbs of the rare Semper Augusta tulip. By January of 1637, all right, those 10 Semper August bulbs were worth nearly as much. So I skipped 5 here, sorry. So what we want to do is, at this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. This is one of those ones that if it takes more time and you're not sure, you skip it, but give it a read through. By the 17th century, Holland, with its extensive overseas trading network, was the richest country in Europe, and even commoners found themselves with money to spare on luxuries, including expensive flowers. So here it's asking, should the writer make this addition? And the quick one would be yes, you should, because it helps us explain why tulips were so widely sought after, because it doesn't explain that up until this point. And the best option is knowing, like, why are people crazy about these tulips? The reason is because Holland was one of the richest countries in Europe, and even people who were common, who didn't have a lot of money to spare, were buying these things. So that's an important tidbit, important fact for us to know why they were so widely sought after. Okay, so right there, if it makes sense, just pick it. You don't even have to read the other ones. Now, this graph, these ones are super easy, but you can't get tricked up. So they mentioned something about 10 bulbs over here, and then they have 10 bulbs here. That's to try to trick you guys. When you're paying attention to a graph, you have to pay attention to what it actually says on the graph, on the chart, the title, and then the Y and X axis. So these are the years. This is the price per one bulb, okay, not per 10. So this 10 makes no sense here. This says the price had fallen. Once again, they're trying to trick you because they talk about 10,000 here, but this whole thing goes year by year, 16, 23, 24, 25, and it's rising, so they're not falling, all right? No change says those 10, so once again, they're talking about 10, but this is not talking about 10, this is per bulb. So very quickly, we can figure out that all that this graph is telling us is that a single bulb per bulb is worth 5,500 right here guilders, and that's exactly what it says right here. A single Semper Augustus bulb was worth 5,500. So that looks complicated, but it's super easy if you just read here, read the title, and understand what the graph is. Don't worry about this other text for that. All right. All right, we only got about 4 more here. With so much money changing hands, ordinary tradespeople clamored to enter the tulip market. In a rising market, it always seems like a good idea a good time to buy low, because you'll shortly be able to sell high and turn a profit. By the height of the bubble, tulips have become mainly a vehicle for financial speculation, with investors trading more options to buy tulips than actual tulips themselves. So once again, this is comparing things, so we will never choose then when we're comparing things, so that can get rid of those two. So now it's than, because we're comparing trading more options than tulips themselves. So comparing those two things, and we do not need a comma there. So the correct answer would be D. If we put a comma, it would be saying some of that's not essential, but we need to know what is the other part that they're comparing. It's essential information. Eventually, though, the madness came to an end, and in February of 1637, the tulip market crashed. Prices dropped, so this comma is important to us because we have a subject and a verb here. Prices dropped. This is my subject, this is my action verb. So this lets me know that I must have a comma and a fanboy on the other side. I can't switch this to dropping because I don't have a helping verb. It doesn't say like prices were dropping. Amazar wasn't. Remember all that. If it ends in ing, you have to have that helping verb in front. This one would create a IC comma non-essential, but we have panic merchants rushed. We have another subject verb here. So the only option is to put a comma fanboy, because that's what we use to join two independent clauses. My first independent clause is prices dropped. My second one is merchants rushed. All right, so those are two main ideas that make sense. We join them with the comma fanboy. If there wasn't a comma fanboy, the correct answer would have been a period or a semicolon, because all three of those mean the same exact thing. All right, investors lost fortunes. The Dutch government tried to step in, but the tulip crash devastated Holland's economy for years to come. To make the paragraph most logical, sentence 6 should be placed. Correct answer is where it is now. It goes in order telling us what happened, and then the final step is that it crashed. And then this next one, you can't get right unless you read everything else. So they're talking about how the economy crashed for years to come, and then they move into a transition about time, and the best option is today. So now we're talking about today. The idea of paying a lifetime's wages for flowers seems laughable. Nobody would do that today. Nobody would risk that much money. What's happening? So then they go, tulip mania, however, remains a cautionary tale of how easily people can get swept up in the excitement of a financial craze. Whether it's from houses, stocks, or tulip bulbs, everyone loves the idea of making a quick buck, but as the painful aftermath of such asset bubbles shows, it's important to remember that some things that seems too good to be true probably is. All right, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and you can either reply in the comments or send an email or reply on Google Classroom. All right, see you guys. Bye.